you go to the Attorney General? Or
yes, and what the Attorney General, yes, I went to every government agency. The Attorney General under Elliot Spitzer, the blow-off letter that I got is that not only is it not their jurisdiction to investigate hospitals, but I did speak to the gentleman on the phone, and I was further informed that if I want to take the Department of Health to court, the New York State Department of Health, for dereliction of duty and obstruction of justice for refusing to investigate, they would be defended by the New York State Attorney General's office, Elliot Spitzer's office. So the Department of Health is protected, but the people are not. The New York State Department of Health has no incentive to investigate because they would be protected in court. So there's no one protecting the people, but the government agencies are protected. And then I reported it to the New York State Inspector General, who's supposed to oversee the Department of Health, and the blow-up letter I got from them was that they don't have any medical experts. They don't know how to read medical records. So I don't know how they can do an oversight of the Department of Health if no one understands the problem.
Well, if your complaint is against the Department of Health, then it's true. The Attorney General is not going to be able to represent you civilly. But if your complaint is against the doctor, that's a different story.
Elliot Spitzer's office refused to get involved like every other government agency that I reported it to. I also have a problem with possibly tainted plasma. There was a company out on Long Island, VI Technologies, that was taking plasma from about 2,000 donors, mixing it with a detergent, and it was killing people around the country. And Newsday published several articles about this SD plasma killing people in other states, and I couldn't find anything about an investigation in New York. And again, that would be the Department of Health jurisdiction to investigate tainted plasma. And this plasma was selling for double the normal price of plasma. So once again, I mean, I just ran into a brick wall every step of the way. Whoever I reported it to this to either didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, didn't get my letters, it's not their job, whether it be on the criminal end to try and press criminal charges, and we do have the law in place. There is the law,
Did
the
you
penal law.
Did you report the plasma situation to the FDA?
Yes, it's not their job. I got 2 blow-off letters from them. They referred it back to the State Department of Health. That's what I'm saying. No matter which government agency I went to, it's not their job.
You know, sometimes they do that when they don't think a case rises to the level of provability that they need to go forward.
Can hundreds and thousands of voices be wrong when so many people are speaking up?
I don't think that the voices are wrong. I think that medical error is a huge problem in this country and in this state. And, you know, but...
And what are we going to do about it?
Ms. Khan, at what point does medical error become criminal negligence? 5 days worth of negligence errors? 5 days worth of ignoring laboratory reports, the patient's condition, documented laboratory reports that nobody appears to notice? At which point does human error become criminal negligence?
Right. What does it take to get criminal prosecution? How many billing claims do you need? How many errors do you need to make it homicide?
You know,
Ms. Khan, one other thing. You mentioned intent. Now, I'm not saying that a doctor perhaps intentionally goes out to kill a patient, although I'm sure there are many cases in which a patient has been so badly treated that they are looking forward to his death. But I'm going to say the person who goes out and is drunk, gets into a car and kills somebody, he did not have intent, but he's still considered criminally liable. And if a doctor doesn't do what he is supposed to do by following up on laboratory reports or rendering appropriate treatment time after time after time after time, I believe that's criminal, even though he didn't intend for the patient to die.
Dorothy, the example that you gave about somebody driving drunk, if a surgeon is drunk when he operates, I think you could find a prosecutor to take that case if somebody does.
Not in Nassau County. We can't find a prosecutor to do anything against the medical establishment.
Well, even if he's drunk, but what if he is not drunk? What if he is in full control of his faculties and does wrong? Isn't he more liable?
If he's in full control and does wrong, he should be liable, but not criminally.
Well, why shouldn't he be liable criminally if he repeatedly commits negligence? Repeatedly, and the patient ends up dying as a result of repeated instances of negligence. At what point does that arise?
That's beyond incompetence here.
We can't hold him civilly because we can't get attorneys for the civil court. The judge told my mother I wasn't allowed to speak, and he told my mother, either you get a lawyer, I'm dismissing the case, you can't do it by yourself. So how are we supposed to do it without an attorney? My dad was employed at the time of his death. We lost income into the household. We're struggling to make ends meet. It costs thousands and thousands of dollars to go through the state courts. We can't afford it. We can't afford to pay an attorney. An attorney will not take it on contingency because of the inhumane wrongful death law. It's legally better for the wrongdoer when the victim dies, and the wrongdoers know this. They can make as much money as they can, and as long as the victim dies, the family has no legal rights.
And the elderly and children, their life aren't worth 2 cents.
Because they don't contribute to the family income.
Yeah,
My dad did contribute to the family income, but because he was 76 years old, his future income, he's off the chart. The chart ends at age 65.
All right, that's wrong. I mean, a human life is a human life.
And the family does experience emotional anguish, and it's really unrealistic to not give legal rights for that. Now, I've been lobbying for 7 years to get this bill, S-1266, 6420. I want this bill grandfathered into law to amend the wrongful death statute. This will acknowledge that when our loved ones are killed, we experience emotional anguish. We should have legal rights for that. And I believe that's a big reason why people are being killed, because the medical society, the medical mafia, knows that they can profit from killing people.
And they know, and they've learned from experience that they can get away from it. They can get away with it, and that the agencies are willing not to step forward and step up to the plate and stop it.
Well, this has been going on for such a long time. It's gotten so blatant. How blatant does it need to be?
Right.
To press criminal charges and to get compensation in a civil system.
In the wall of silence, they say that at least 100,000 Americans a year are killed or injured, maimed due to medical negligence. How many lives have to be lost before the Department of Health takes interest?
Right. And this is why a lot of us feel that once the Department of Health does find the hospital and doctors negligent, that we should be able to just, get compensation without having to go to court, because that's obviously the courts are too corrupted and too
It's also a huge expense.
let's say quote unquote influenced by the medical lobby.
But unfortunately, that's not how our legal system works. So
Well, we're trying to reform it.
We were trying to change that. I mean, laws can be changed, and
no, and I applaud that. You should definitely try to change it.
It's an outrage.
But that's
about
not,
the laws. Excuse me. The laws are one thing. I'd like to know what has the commissioner himself done to promulgate new regulations for the prevention of some of these wrongdoings.
Well,
what regulations have you done? What?
We're actually, since the new commissioner came into office, we're trying to do a lot of things to reduce medical errors and increase patient safety. The first area that we're trying our hardest in is with obstetrical accidents.
How does that help with the elderly?
It doesn't. That doesn't help with the elderly.
What about elderly?
What about SO 4648?
Why don't you let me talk? Because there is a huge effort. People here working very hard to try to control hospital-acquired infections and diseases, and to prevent accidents, and to see that doctors who repeatedly are guilty of negligence lose their license and or have their insurance rates go up so high that they can't afford to practice.
Why does it have to be repeatedly?
Regulations for the prevention of these mishaps. Where are the regulations?
Can I ask for your
promulgated?